Hey reseller friends, and welcome back to another episode of Good Game Grabs, but more importantly, welcome back to another beautiful episode of Sunday School. By now, you're probably anticipating a sale. If not, you already have a sale because you're listing items with good sell-through rate, right guys? But we are getting into the nitty-gritty of how to get that item that you sourced to your end user, your buyer. We're going to go through all of the tools that I personally use, and then we're going to actually go through the process of picking and packing a couple items as well, so you guys can get a feel for how to do that. I know you guys have probably seen this behind me in plenty of videos, but let's talk about our little box area first. We'll move on to some other stuff as well, what we use for packing, but the box area, it's a glaring thing here. Let's just go ahead and take a deep dive into it. So up top, I know the lighting is bad, but up here we have just regular old padded mailers here. These are literally just like thin kind of poly with bubbles inside there. We got these from the bins, so we paid by the pound for these. They're really cheap, obviously, because they weigh next to nothing. But we typically do like any low-end DVDs or CDs in here. Moving on, next to those, we have a bunch of these USPS legal flat rate envelopes. A lot of people use these for clothing. I certainly do as well. It's important to mention that all of these USPS items that I'm showing you are going to be absolutely 100% free. You can go on to the USPS website or go to certain locations and get these things for absolutely free, guys. Obviously, you have to use the USPS service to take advantage of their free boxes. That's kind of the stipulation, right? Like, you get the free box, but you have to buy a label from them. More on that later. But yeah, so we use a lot of these for our bigger clothing items that go for a flat rate. So if it's like a big heavy pair of jeans or a big like hoodie or something like that, it'll go for a flat rate in this legal flat rate envelope. People also use the regular flat rate envelopes that are a little bit smaller than this. I prefer just to have a little bit extra room because I don't like to fight items when I put them into one of these envelopes. Another type of box that we typically use for bigger items are these record size boxes. These are for like vinyls or laser discs. These are a little expensive because we don't typically buy a lot of them at one time. We probably should buy more at one time. Obviously, if you buy in bulk, it's going to be cheaper. But anyway, those come out to be, I think, around 60 cents a box or 70 cents a box or something like that. But again, you know, I mean, they are very handy because they fold up perfectly to fit a vinyl record. Moving on, we have a bunch of random size boxes that I have broken down. Obviously, you know, I mean, it is kind of a little bit unorganized, but you kind of get an idea of like what size box you need, and then you kind of go searching for it in there. I also do have boxes like down here that have not been broken down yet. So hopefully like I can just find one that's already taped up and I can just use that. But if not, I go back over here and I search in here for whatever I need. I have a couple shoe boxes up here that I necessarily don't need. I did keep this Doc Martens one for bigger boots and stuff like that. More on our other shoe boxes in a second. Moving on down below those, we have our 8x6x5s. We use these a lot, typically because we sell smaller items, but these even work well for like VHS that we want to keep super secure or anything like that. A very versatile box in the 8x6x5s. I think we spend just under 50 cents, around 45 cents per box on those, and we buy those pretty much in bulk. Moving down from there, we have our 1095s and our 1092s, sometimes 1097s. And if you guys hear me say that, it is because that is the box code on these USPS boxes. As you can see right there, this is a 1092. This one actually right to the right of that one, this is a 1095 size right here. We use these a lot. We even stack these together. I'll show you guys something here a little bit later about how we utilize those boxes. And then of course, the good old shoe box. We keep plenty of those in stock because, yeah, again, I mean, we sell shoes pretty regularly, and these work out pretty great. And you can also utilize those in different ways as well. You don't necessarily have to send a pair of shoes in there. Just as long as it has a priority mail label on it, you can send anything with those. Moving on to more USPS stuff, though. We have some mailing tubes that we rarely use because the price is kind of crazy for these longer items now through USPS. We'll talk about that a little bit more. These are just some regular size like boxes. I sometimes use those if I can't find like a box up here that'll fit what I need, or, you know, down here, these are just some more sturdier boxes or like random size boxes that I may need. I also have some broken down back there that are a little bit bigger. So sometimes we use those. You guys are probably wondering, why does Ray keep this box of BS? Well, it's just for stuff, you know, like this. If I'm shipping something that's super fragile, I'll come in here and I'll grab a bunch of that stuff. I mean, there's just a bunch of, you know, packing basically to ship fragile items. I could probably downsize this, to be completely honest. I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, this is kind of my catch-all box for all of my, you know, stuff that makes padding, basically. Super nice padding. I got like styrofoam down there, all that other good stuff. That's kind of also what this box is. I keep all of my scraps from when I cut down cardboard, and I use this as padding in the bottom of boxes that are fragile. I'm a big fan of first-hand recycling. So if I can reuse these things without them going through the process of going through a plant or wherever it needs to go, a recycling plant, if I can reuse it myself, I will go ahead and do that. So that's what that's for. Before we move on to the other stuff that I want to talk about, bubble wrap. Always good to have bubble wrap, especially if you're an everything seller. You probably won't need this if you only do clothing and shoes, but yes, we keep bubble wrap. We buy from American Bubble Boy, and they have a really good price, really good quality. I use the small plus bubble. Depending on what you guys ship out, I mean, I ship out a bunch of smaller stuff, so the small bubble works for me. But if you're shipping out a bunch of big, more fragile items, you may want to consider getting some bigger bubble. But yeah, for our purposes, with the small bubble and the styrofoam and all that stuff and the spare cardboard combined, all of those three things combined, we can get away with using the smaller bubble. Moving on here, we just have some more little padded mailers. These are a little bit skinnier than the ones that are up there. I just use these for small items that aren't super fragile. Use your common sense when you're sending out stuff in these padded mailers because they are kind of thin. You know, sometimes I will wrap something in extra bubble wrap before I put it in here and send it out that way, just for a little bit more peace of mind. But anyway, that's, you know, they're convenient. I like having those handy for whenever I need them for some really simple item. These next two items are super versatile. I use these all the dang time, especially this size right here. I buy these in absolute bulk. Like, I buy these by the 1,000. And yeah, so these are called poly bags. I don't remember the exact dimensions of these two, but you get an idea of the size difference here. The green ones I don't typically use as much, just because if there is something that is a bigger item, I'll typically throw it in a box at that point just for extra safety. But, you know, it is nice to have the versatility between the two of these items. And I'll show you guys how I utilize these in different ways when we go to pick and pack some items. But those are two absolute necessities in my opinion. Even if you're doing clothing, you'll ship out a bunch of shirts and smaller clothing items in these little poly bags right here. So just keep that in mind, that these are super versatile. I highly recommend buying them in bulk if you can. They're really great. So moving on to what I actually use as equipment in my daily process, I have a pair of scissors, of course, a tape gun. Get one that you're comfortable with using. I highly recommend, you know, getting one that you're comfortable, you know, doing the motions with, because you will be using this every day, especially if you are a everything seller. Some regular Scotch tape. I mean, no explanation needed there. I use this for just taping up bubble wrap, you know, if I need to. I've got a utility knife for cutting down boxes if I need to, and I've got a Sharpie for marking all of my weights. And of course, you know, you have the small scale right here. This is obviously for smaller items. I don't need to explain that too much. And then of course the big scale down there, which is for the big stuff. So you guys heard me talk about, you know, the possibility of doing every facet of this business from your phone, and you can do that. You can, but I highly, highly, highly recommend you guys have a computer set up, whether that be a laptop or a desktop, Mac, whatever you guys want, and a thermal printer. And that is what I have set up right here. I have my computer, I have a thermal printer, and we're going to go through the process of why this is just way more streamlined and why I like it versus doing everything at the post office. Okay, so we have 5 sold items here that are going out. It is actually a Sunday today, so we're not actually going to the post office, but let's just go through the motions together and pick and pack some orders. So first off, we have this lot of 3 Marvel superhero figures, and they are in custom label SKU C. So if you guys did set up a box system with A, B, and C, you know that you made your little custom SKU when you made your listing. You said, oh, I put this in C, so I put that in my custom label SKU, and it's going to be exactly there. So let's go ahead and see where this is in C. That was a mouthful. Let's move this keyboard out of the way. Got some forks. It would help if I had a little bit better lighting in here, wouldn't it, guys? All right, there we go. These 3 figures. Now, we could just throw these in a poly bag, but you know what? We're going to actually make sure that these are 100% secure and have peace of mind when we send these to the buyer. So what we're going to do is actually keep these in this little baggie, but we're going to take some bubble wrap and get these wrapped up. And I'll show you a little trick of the trade that I do with something like this to also make sure that your label is secure. All right, 1 piece of bubble. You're going to give it a little wrap like this. And I'm going to take another piece of bubble. Because remember, guys, bubble wrap is cheap insurance. It's cheap insurance. We're going to wrap it up like this again, so it is double layered. We're going to take 1 piece of our packing tape, if we can get it unhinged there. Bam. And now we're dropping stuff, but now we have a nice little padded package here. Now, if we were to throw this in a poly bag, though, we'd probably have trouble getting the label on unless you want to do it the way that some people do, and this is totally fine, guys, if you want to do it this way. I just prefer to have a more compact package, but some people will literally throw this in a poly like this, and they will, you know, in turn leave space for a label on this, like, on this loose side, you know, and just kind of leave the package all loosey-goosey, and that's fine if you want to do it that way. Just for me, my own personal sanity, I like to take this right here and take a piece of cardboard. So you know what? I have one that, well, this is a little long, but I'm just going to do something like this. And so not only does this do one of 2 things, it will, you know, protect the package on one of the sides, and it will also leave rigidity for the packing label that we're about to print out. And I'll show you guys what I mean in a second. So we'll go ahead, we'll put it all the way down to the bottom of the bag. We'll do a little fold like this. We'll take off our sticky strip here. All right, and pack it down like this. And I sometimes do leave it like this, but most of the time, majority of the time, and this is a completely extra step for my sanity and for the buyer's insurance, but I take a little bit of piece of tape right here, and I actually do this like that, so it's all nice and conformed now. There's no weird looseness to the package. It feels rigid. It's got a nice spot for the label now. But more importantly, before we go and print our label, we need to know what item this is, because now we have it packaged. And if we do multiple packages, we might forget what's in here. Well, we're going to turn on our scale. We're going to weigh it. Okay, this is at 5.2 ounces. I'm going to say 5 ounces and Marvel, because we know that's the only Marvel thing we have going out today. And let's go print a label. So if you guys go into your eBay, you'll see awaiting shipment on orders. Purchase a shipping label, of course. Another handy tool that we do have at our packing station is a measuring tape. This is, I guess, probably something that is definitely worth mentioning and keeping around, because you will want to have the dimensions of your packages. But we know that this is a 6 by 5. Yep, 6 by 5. And then that looks about 3 inches there. So we'll do 6 by 5 by 3, and we know that we wrote 5 ounces on there, so we're going to hit 5 ounces on the weight. And of course, eBay is going to give us a bunch of different options for services. You can obviously, see all the different services here if you wanted to send it a different way, if you wanted to send it UPS ground or FedEx or whatever. But for anything under £1, I'm always shipping it USPS. It's just the fastest and cheapest way. So we have our USPS first class package at $4.20. We have our dimensions correct. We have our weight correct. Let's go ahead and purchase this label. All right, it's going to pop up our printing page here. We know that it's the right printer. This is our thermal printer up top. And we're going to go ahead and print. And bam, out comes our label. I've never had it this stuck before on the corner. Of course this would happen while I'm filming this. This never happens. Okay, let's try the other corner. All right. Bam. Label is on. And guys, the most important thing when you guys do print out these labels on whatever package that you have, make sure that this barcode right here is mostly flat or completely flat and visible. It doesn't have any creaks or cricks or, any creases, any bends or anything like that. This is the most important thing right here, so they can easily scan your package. They don't have to manually put in the tracking number or anything like that. So just remember that when you're going to ship your packages, that's the most important thing. If you do need to contort the label in any way, just make sure that that's flat. And congrats, you guys have now made a package ready for shipping out. Isn't that exciting? Let's go ahead and pack a couple more, and we'll get the feel of some different types of items and how much we will pack them to give our buyer, again, peace of mind, and you peace of mind, because you don't want to go through the refund process and all that junk. It's just such a headache. Pack your items well, and you won't have to worry about it. I guess this wouldn't be a proper shipping video if I did not talk about video games and just games in general that come in these DVD style cases. Please, 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 guys, remember that some of this stuff, especially if it's like in the video game, realm, or just anything collectible, really, just anything collectible across the board, is that These things are going into people's collections and they want them to arrive safely. Sometimes they're rare. Sometimes the items that you sell are rare. And, if that thing breaks, it's not like they can just go out and buy another one. It's not like a common item that's just found on a Walmart shelf. If it's like a very common DVD, and I'm saying just because it's a common DVD, you should ship them very willy-nilly. But, it's not like these collectors can just go to their local Walmart and buy another copy of whatever, DVD that might be just super common, like The Matrix or something. But anyway, this is the method that I really love to use when I ship video games. So let's dive into that. So we have our video game here. Bam. Also, let's clean up our trash in our area. This was from the package that we just did. Let's put it in the trash can over here. Okay. Bubble wrap. We do the corners like this. Little piece of Scotch tape to hold the bubble wrap in place. And then the most important part, the cardboard. So I'll take a piece of cardboard like this. We'll get our utility knife out and we'll do some cuts like that. So basically, we have a DVD size cardboard cutout here. We'll do the same thing right here. All right. 2 DVD case size cardboard pieces. That took us all of 2 seconds to do. And it's cheap insurance for the video games that you send out, because now we have a nice cardboard and bubble wrap sandwich. And I've had numerous buyers compliment me on this method of shipping. So now, you might think, oh, Ray, are you just going to slap some tape on there and a label on the outside and send it? No, we're actually going to throw this in a poly mailer. So again, the white poly mailer that we absolutely love and is so versatile. Same sort of scenario as the other item that we just did. We're going to wrap this up like so. Get the air out of there. I like to fold these little flaps down, and again, one more little piece of tape. Bam. Now we have a nice, compact, secure vessel for our video game. And we're going to go ahead and weigh this, of course. All right, we're at 5.1, so 5 ounces, and we know that this is a Sims Katy Perry. All right, and we are ready for a label again. Now, again, I just want to reiterate, if you are doing this completely from your phone, you will have to get the QR code after you purchase a label via the eBay app, and then you'll take that QR code to a kiosk at your local USPS, for example. I think they only do it for USPS. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on that, but USPS QR code, go to the kiosk at the actual post office, scan the QR code, get your label printed, put your labels on the packages, then drop them off at the counter. We will talk more about that as well. But, typically, I have a good rapport with my USPS postal workers, so I just drop my packages off and they always make sure that they're scanned in. Sometimes people are very protective over their packages though, and they will actually ask for a scan sheet at the post office. So when you do go there, if there is a line, you're going to have to wait for a worker to be available to scan your packages in and give you a scan sheet. Just depends how you feel about, your local post office. Again, I Absolutely love the post office workers at the one that I usually go to almost every day. We have a good rapport between one another, and I always know that my packages are going to be scanned in properly and on time. So I almost sold a racket today. I was going back and forth with some offers with a person about a tennis racket. And I want to show you this because this is a little bit more of an advanced technique in terms of shipping an item. So I wanted to show you the 1095 box trick, which I use for more than one thing. I actually do use this for Guitar Hero guitars and stuff like that. But it is the double stacking method of 1095. So you have a normal 1095 here that has one end already done up here, and then you will actually stack this in one another. I'm not going to do it the full way because we're not shipping this out right now, but you can see that it is start to slip on there, and you'll be able to tape this up, and you'll have a super long box just like that. And of course, you'll want to do the normal things that we would do on most every package and, you know, bubble wrap around, you know, the top of this, the point of contact, which is going to be the top of the racket and the bottom of the racket. So a little bubble wrap on the bottom, a little bubble wrap on the top. And one thing that I have not mentioned is packing paper, which I do have some in that big box behind me, but I also do actually buy it by the roll in bulk, which is actually right here. This is just normal, like, some people call it like newspaper packing paper. It is kind of the same sort of feeling as a newspaper, but I buy this giant roll. And then what I'll do is I'll pack the packing paper in the bottom of the box, so it has a little layer of paper in there to sit on, and then also on the top of the box before I close it, and then I'll give it a good shake and make sure that it's not flopping around, and that paper there is an extra layer of insulation between that and the bubble wrap. All right, I'm gonna show y'all one more piece of media that I like to do with cardboard, and that is for books. Especially because books are floppy, they're easy to, you know, get messed up in the shipping process. So 2 pieces of cardboard, bam, bam, like so. And then we'll actually take some of our packing tape, move it to the edge of the table is what I like to do. We will turn this around like so. Another piece of tape. I like to do all 4 sides just to be safe, but you know, that's just me. I like to overpack my items. I think it's better to be safer than sorry in this situation. But again, guys, you know, maybe you guys do clothing, and clothing doesn't need to be shielded nearly as much. It's up to you though. But this is how our book will look inside of our cardboard. And then again, we're going to take a white polymag and do the same exact thing that we did on our other stuff. And bam. We are now ready to go yet again on another item. We'll probably end up taping this like we do with the flaps done here. But yeah, that is another way to do it. One more thing that I wanted to mention, and I was talking about it earlier, and that's with the USPS mailing tubes and how we don't really use them anymore. That's because USPS in recent history has changed the way that they price the shipping for very long items. So anything like a golf club size, for example, I'm always going to send UPS, and I will not be sending it in a USPS mailing tube because again, USPS boxes should be bought with USPS shipping labels. So again, keep that in mind, guys. Get creative if you need to ship items like this. I actually go to my local golf stores and ask them for free boxes because usually they get a bunch of drivers and regular irons in all the time. So they have extra boxes laying around that they don't feel like breaking down or whatever it may be. So I will grab a free box from them, and that saves me money. It also saves me money because I ship it UPS and not USPS. So just a little thing to keep in mind. Also, for items that are extra heavy, definitely take a look at UPS Ground. And again, guys, the shipping services page on the eBay site will lay out all your options after you put in your weight and dimensions. So don't feel like you have to send everything USPS. So I think we've covered most of the normal bases for you guys to ship out your first items. Good luck. And again, just try to think about being in the shoes of the buyer, guys. I think that is a overarching theme just for this entire series. Just for eBay selling in general, think about the end user and how you yourself, if you were the end user, how you would like to see your item arrive safely and not broken, right? That's usually a good consensus of how you want your items to arrive. So just keep that in mind. Try to explore other shipping services if something doesn't seem right through USPS, if it's extra expensive. Get creative with sourcing your materials. I just wanted to mention really quick, like, Ray, where do you find all of these boxes to cut down? I am not beyond going into the alleyway of where we live and going to the recycling dumpster and getting some recycled cardboard out of that dumpster to cut down. Now, we typically do, we have some Amazon packages or just various things that we get boxes in, and, relatives gives us boxes and stuff. We will just break down those boxes. But, again, guys, just try to be resourceful, try to firsthand recycle, because not only is it free material, it's going to extra pad your items as you are going to ship them. But anyway, guys, stay tuned for another episode of Sunday School next Sunday, of course, and we are going to be talking about customer service. Oh, the big can of worms that is customer service, guys. But it is very important that we do talk about it. And again, shipping does kind of go into that. If you ship your items well, you're going to get good feedback and you'll not hear customers complaining to you, but we'll talk about that more. But hit that like button if you haven't hit the like button. If you found this informative and all that good stuff, hit that sub button if you have not already as well. I don't know how you haven't if you've watched this many episodes of Sunday School, but we really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you later on the next episode of Sunday School. Bye, guys.